Hello everyone. Second news update for our Patreon and Boosty communities. Today is 21st of July. Now it's about 6 o'clock, 15 past 6 in the evening, Moscow time. And well, I'm gonna test new microphone, dear friends. Hopefully sound will be okay, or hopefully even better than previous mic. And there are quite a number of news, dear friends, that I want to share in this update. Right now we are at Malaya Gruzinska Street, not far away from Krasnopesitska metro station, and let's go for a little walk and talk about some news. And first news, dear friends, that I want to share with you is about last night's strikes that Russian armed forces conducted on military and logistical infrastructure of the Kiev regime. We have some additional information on that. Russian Defense Ministry in its latest update highlighted that group strike was conducted with the drones and missiles on military and logistics infrastructure of the Kiev regime, and also facilities were targeted where Kiev regime was building basically drones and all sorts of equipment for military purposes. Strikes were in Kiev, Kharkov, Dnipropetrovsk, in Odessa direction, in western Ukraine too, by the way, in Ivano-Frankovsk area, as I reported this morning during the live stream. And also interesting detail that during the nighttime Russian armed forces launched strikes on a gas offshore platform in the Black Sea that was occupied by Kiev regime's forces. And if you check my Telegram or Twitter X page today, probably you have seen those pictures of aftermath of Russian strike on this gas platform, which was used for military purposes, I guess, to coordinate maritime drone strikes against Russia. So in that particular case, from that particular platform, I guess there are gonna be no drone strikes towards Russia anytime soon. Also today, Zelensky made a couple of statements that Russian media is paying attention to. For example, he ordered his henchmen, his affiliates, to expand drone strikes on Russia. He went to say, and this is quote, dear friends, "Every site in Russia that Moscow uses to produce weapons must become accessible to our defense forces." So what he's saying basically is that he's emphasizing long-range strikes, further increase of long-range strikes against Russia. The statement of Zelensky perfectly basically lines up with all the previous statements from either UK or US or Germany about long-range weapon systems, long-range strikes against Russia. And as I said in today's first update, I guess there is really a very high probability that after this 50-day ultimatum that Trump came up with on 14th of July, that was most likely NATO countries and their proxy Kiev regime will get engaged in these large-scale, long-range strikes, combined strikes with the drones and missiles. There are too many indicators of that, and hopefully Russian militaries are well prepared to deal with whatever threats can be and can and will be generated by hostile forces. And dear friends, before I continue, let me just make sure that sound is good. I will check now for a second, then I will continue. So sound is good, I guess. And dear friends, before I continue, let me take the camera and show you some surroundings. This is Krasnopresnitska metro station there, that oval building. Behind it, this tall building is, of course, one of the Seven Sisters, so-called, or Stalinkas, buildings that were in the same style, in same architectural style, was built during the Stalin reign. And one of the buildings from the Seven Sisters are Moscow main building of Moscow State University. I have made a couple of videos from there for our Patreon and Boosty communities, and well, just let me film this street, you know, and let's go that way. Let's go that way. And more news. And I forget to mention, dear friends, that probably I will post first part of this video on YouTube and Rumble also, as a sort of advertiser. Maybe members of our bigger community on YouTube and Rumble will consider to join us on Patreon. These videos that I'm publishing from short clips from my updates on Patreon and Boosty hopefully will help with that. And yes, let's continue. This is not all when it comes to Zelensky and his criminal associates, by the way. They did emphasize for the increase of long-range strikes against Russia, obviously while heavily relying or completely relying on NATO member states. No doubts about that. And they went also to say, dear friends, that they need more money. At this point, we don't even have to guess, isn't it? What about Zelensky and his criminal associates will talk about? They need more money. More weapons and more money. And when it comes to money, by the way, it's no any less than 6 billion this time. They are demanding from their NATO members $6 billion to be transferred directly to the budget of Kiev regime, so that Zelensky and his associates will have opportunity to deal with this money in whatever way they want. Right? Probably they lack some new mansions somewhere in Miami or something, somewhere in Florida, let's say, and well, they will find the ways what to do with this amount, and they're gonna get it. That's most ironic and tragic in this story, that they're gonna get these billions and billions, because yet again, globalists are not yet ready to acknowledge their defeat, and until this is the case, they will continue to find money and weapons to prolong this proxy war against Russia, unfortunately. So yeah, they demand $6 billion. Also, by the way, on the topic of Western assistance to Kiev regime, we have report today that UK has delivered their air defense systems and artillery shells worth about $200 million to Kiev regime, and this delivery is a part of $940 million plan their military aid for the Kiev regime that was announced by British leadership some time ago. Also, very interesting news and dangerous news is coming from UK. US deploys B-61 12 nuclear bombs to UK for the first time since basically 2008. according to media reports. No official statement from Pentagon or the British Ministry of Defense about this deployment of nuclear weapons on island by Pentagon. But yet again, if we remember what was going on in 2008, by the way, well, in 2008, Washington ordered their puppet regime in Georgia when Saakashvili was president there to provoke, first to reignite civil war inside the country against South Ossetia, and then to provoke direct clashes with the Russian Federation. And Saakashvili acted on these orders, and unfortunately quite successfully. He ordered basically Georgian troops to open fire on the Russian peacekeepers that were in a region, that were deployed in a region under the UN mandate, by the way. And obviously, when Russian peacekeepers get killed and wounded, Moscow didn't stood any chance to stay out of conflict. And the president of the Russian Federation at the time, Dmitry Medvedev, ordered Russian troops to get engaged, and that direct conflict between Russia and Georgia has gone down in history as a 5-day war, August 5-day war of 2008. Another tragic page in bilateral relationships between Georgia and Russia in modern history that was provoked by the West, right, and Western assets in Georgia itself. And that was the time when the US deployed its nukes to United Kingdom. And now nukes being deployed again, and one might ask question, for what purposes? What Washington has in plans? And I tell you what, I think Washington and London and other capitals of leading NATO member states are preparing for next phase of escalation, which is going to be unprecedented, which will reach unprecedented level, for sure. It's going to be a long-range, massive long-range combined drone and missile strikes deep into Russian territory. I'm quite sure Russian air defense systems will deal successfully with vast majority of the aerial targets, but nevertheless, after such escalation, Moscow, I think, will have no option but to retaliate. But to retaliate, not just against military and logistical infrastructure of the Kyiv regime, but against military and possibly logistical infrastructure of NATO member states, or the states, let's say this way, that will be engaged in these long-range attacks on Russia. And US is kind of preparing, deploying its nukes, right, to UK. Maybe they think they're gonna intimidate Russia, but they wouldn't. They are in no position to intimidate Russian Federation. But we are paying attention to these developments, and I'm paying attention. And obviously, if I'm paying attention, then leadership of Russian Federation most definitely does, and some countermeasures probably will be adopted. Also, interesting report that world's largest warship, USS Gerald Ford, enters Mediterranean. The carrier strike group with 4,500 sailors, up to 100 planes, and the aircraft carrier is never alone. It's always escorted by several underwater and a few underwater and several underwater warships, submarines, and warships. And this strike group, is in Mediterranean right now. And one may also assume that this is a demonstration of force from US and a part of the preparation for possible or maybe even inevitable at this point next phase of escalation that US and NATO will go ahead with after this 50-day ultimatum of Trump will expire. No doubts that Russian side is paying close attention to this development, and maybe Russian submarine, one of the Russian submarines that called black hole, by the way, because they are almost undetectable. Maybe one of those submarines already shadowing this this carrier strike group of US that is in Mediterranean. Probably that's exactly what is happening, and if necessary, of course, it's not just submarines but other systems too that Russia can deploy to neutralize, if necessary, once again, to neutralize incoming threats from whichever part of this world this threat's gonna be generated. So some very serious stuff, serious developments that are, in my personal opinion, not random developments. It's all part of a bigger plan. And soon we will find out. We will know for sure. Am I correct or not? Few more news, dear friends, for this first part of the news segment. And maybe I should pause here, and maybe I should continue on the bank of Moscow River. So okay, I will pause here, dear friends. I will part this short 10-minute episode, 10-15-minute episode on YouTube and Rumble, and the rest of the news will stay on Patreon and Boosty. So I will continue once we will get to bank of the Moscow River.